The Daxamite battle mistress, Xenos, lay defeated at Walter Gordon's feet. Her superhuman strength and advanced combat augmentations, no match for the human's indomitable spirit and tactical prowess. This unprecedented victory marked a turning point in the invasion of Earth's first interstellar colony on Proxima Centauri b, in the beginning of an unlikely attraction between two species. In the year 2185, humanity's ambitious expansion into the cosmos faced its first true test. The fledgling colony on Proxima Centauri b, a testament to human ingenuity and determination, found itself under siege by the technologically superior Daxamites. This matriarchal warrior race, dismissive of the primitive Earth colonists, launched a surprise attack that threatened to obliterate humanity's foothold among the stars. Walter Gordon, the colony's 35-year-old security chief and former Special Forces operative, stood as the last line of defense against the overwhelming alien force. As the colony's defenses crumbled under the relentless Daxamite assault, Walter faced off against Xenos, the 28-year-old elite female shock trooper leading the invasion. Their confrontation was a clash of worlds, human grit and experience versus alien strength and technology. The colony's fate hung in the balance as Walter and Xenos engaged in brutal hand-to-hand combat. Despite the odds stacked against him, Walter's years of tactical experience and unwavering resolve allowed him to gain the upper hand. In a shocking turn of events that would reshape interstellar relations, Walter became the first human to defeat a Daxamite warrior in physical combat. His victory not only halted the alien advance, but sent shockwaves through both human and Daxamite ranks. As the dust settled on the battlefield, an uneasy ceasefire took hold. The human colonists hailed Walter as a hero, while Xenos faced disgrace among her own kind. Yet in the aftermath of their fierce battle, an unexpected connection began to form between the two warriors. Xenos, impressed by Walter's combat skills and the tenacity of the human defenders, found herself questioning her species' dismissive attitude towards Earth's colonists. The complexity of human emotions, alien to her rigid warrior culture, fascinated her. She felt a growing attraction to the man who had bested her in combat, a sensation both thrilling and confusing. Meanwhile, Earth's political and military leaders scrambled to respond to the existence of the Daxamites. The fate of human expansion into the cosmos now hung in the balance, with the colony on Proxima Centauri b becoming the focal point of humanity's first contact with an advanced alien civilization. As tensions simmered between the two species, Walter and Xenos stood at the center of a story that would shape the future of both humans and Daxamites. Their budding relationship held the potential to bridge the gap between their peoples or reignite the conflict on an even larger scale. In the wake of battle, with the colony's future uncertain and interstellar war looming, Walter and Xenos faced a choice. Would they pursue their unlikely attraction, risking everything for a chance at understanding and peace? Or would the wounds of war and the vast differences between their species prove too great to overcome? The answer to this question would determine not just their own fates, but the course of human history among the stars. The colony's makeshift conference room buzzed with tension as Walter Gordon faced the Daxamite delegation across a battered metal table. His eyes locked with Xenos, her regal posture a stark contrast to the disheveled human colonists. The negotiations for a temporary truce had begun. "We propose a mutual non-aggression pact," Walter stated, his voice steady despite the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. "Both sides will withdraw to predetermined zones within the colony." Xenos leaned forward, her cybernetic implants gleaming under the harsh lighting. "And what guarantees do we have that your people will honor this agreement?" Walter met her gaze unflinchingly. "The same guarantee you're offering us, our word." A flicker of something, respect perhaps, passed across Xenos' face. She nodded curtly. "Acceptable. We will relay your terms to our high command." As the negotiations progressed, Walter found himself studying Xenos more closely. Her tactical acumen impressed him, as did her willingness to consider compromise, a trait he hadn't expected from the warrior race. Meanwhile, millions of kilometers away, the emergency summit on Earth had reached its conclusion. Admiral James Hawthorne stood before a wall of screens, addressing the assembled leaders. The Proxima Centauri defense fleet is ready for deployment, he announced, his weathered face set with perseverance. We'll reach the colony in approximately 4 months, giving us time to prepare for any eventuality. Back on Proxima Centauri B, Walter initiated the first of many cultural exchange programs. Human colonists and Daxamite warriors gathered in the colony's central plaza, eyeing each other warily. Today, we begin to understand one another, Walter addressed the crowd. Not as enemies, but as two species sharing the same stars. The exchanges revealed a chasm of differences between humans and Daxamites. During a shared meal, a human woman's casual joke about her husband's cooking skills left the Daxamites in confused silence. "You allow males to prepare food?" a Daxamite warrior asked, genuinely perplexed. Walter stepped in, sensing the potential for misunderstanding. In human society, roles aren't strictly defined by gender. Anyone can cook, fight, or lead. It's about individual skill and choice. The concept seemed to startle the Daxamites, prompting hushed discussions among their ranks. Xenos, observing from the sidelines, found herself intrigued by this alien philosophy. Later that week, Xenos approached Walter in the colony's command center. "I request assignment as liaison to your colony," she stated, her tone neutral, but her eyes betraying a hint of curiosity. Walter raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure? It's not exactly a prestigious position for someone of your rank." Xenos straightened. "I believe it is essential for understanding our opponent." "Neighbor," Walter corrected gently. "We're trying for neighbor now." A ghost of a smile touched Xenos' lips. "Indeed, neighbor." As the days passed, Xenos immersed herself in human culture. She observed families in the colony's residential sectors, watched children play in makeshift parks, and even attended a colony council meeting. The myriad of choices and individual freedoms bewildered and fascinated her. One evening, she found Walter at the colony's observation deck, staring out at the alien sky. "Your people are perplexing," Xenos admitted, moving to stand beside him. Walter chuckled. "We get that a lot, even from ourselves." "How do you function without a clear hierarchy, without defined roles?" she asked, genuine curiosity in her voice. "It's not always easy," Walter replied, "but that freedom to choose, to become who we want to be, it's what drives us. It's why we're out here among the stars." Xenos fell silent, contemplating his words. For the first time, she began to see humans not as inferior beings, but as a species with its own unique strengths. However, not everyone shared this growing understanding. In the Daxamite camp, Battle Mistress Cora paced furiously. "This peace is a farce," she snarled to her subordinates. "The humans must be eliminated before they spread their chaos further." Under cover of night, Cora's faction sabotaged a human water reclamation facility. As colonists scrambled to contain the damage, accusations flew. Walter, suspecting foul play, increased security measures. He organized joint patrols, partnering human and Daxamite personnel. During one such patrol, Walter and Xenos ventured into an unexplored region of the colony's territory. Their scanners picked up unusual readings from a nearby canyon. "These mineral deposits," Xenos said, analyzing the data. "They could be used in our quantum drives." Walter nodded, excitement building. "And they're perfect for our terraforming equipment. This could be the key to long-term cooperation." As news of the discovery spread, both human and Daxamite leaders began to see the potential for a mutually beneficial alliance. However, this prospect alarmed certain factions on both sides. Colonel Marcus Graves, a hardline isolationist, gathered a group of like-minded colonists in a secret meeting. "We can't trust these aliens," he insisted. "Every day we cooperate is another day they learn our weaknesses. We must strike first, drive them off our world." His words found fertile ground among those still traumatized by the initial Daxamite attack. As these hidden tensions simmered, Walter and Xenos found themselves working closely together, navigating the complex web of interspecies politics. They spent long hours strategizing, their initial distrust gradually giving way to a grudging respect, and perhaps something more. One night, after a particularly grueling negotiation session, Xenos surprised Walter by asking about his personal life. "Your people place great value on individual bonds," she said. "Do you have such connections?" Walter paused, caught off guard by the personal question. "I did once, but duty came first. Out here, the mission is everything." Xenos nodded, a look of understanding passing between them. In that moment, despite the vast differences in their biology and culture, they recognized a kindred spirit in each other. As the estimated arrival date of Admiral Hawthorne's fleet drew near, the pressure to solidify the peace intensified. Walter and Xenos redoubled their efforts, acutely aware that the influx of human military power could upset the delicate balance they'd achieved. In the colony's command center, they pored over diplomatic proposals and security arrangements. Their hands brushed as they both reached for the same data pad, causing an unexpected jolt of awareness. They froze, eyes meeting in a moment of silent acknowledgement of the complex emotions growing between them. The future remained uncertain, balanced on a knife's edge between peace and renewed conflict. As Walter and Xenos continued their work, they knew that their next moves would shape not only their own fates, but the future of human-Daxamite relations for generations to come. The colony's makeshift conference room fell silent as Walter and Xenos concluded their latest round of negotiations. The air was thick with tension, both diplomats acutely aware of the precarious peace they had forged. As they gathered their data pads and prepared to leave, an urgent message flashed across Walter's screen. "Security breach in Sector 7, he muttered, brow furrowing. "Xenos, we need to move." Without hesitation, the Daxamite warrior fell into step beside him. They had become an unlikely but effective team over the past weeks, their shared commitment to maintaining order bridging the gap between their species. As they hurried through the colony's corridors, Walter's communicator crackled to life. "Chief, we've got reports of unauthorized access to the new excavation site," a breathless voice reported. Walter's pace quickened. The excavation site, a recent discovery that had piqued the interest of both humans and Daxamites, was off-limits to all but a select few. Its very existence was classified. They arrived at the site to find a small crowd gathered around the entrance. Human colonists and Daxamite warriors stood in tense clusters, eyeing each other warily. Walter pushed through, Xenos close behind. "Report," he barked to the guard on duty. "Sir, we detected an energy surge from within the site. When we investigated, we found, well, you'd better see for yourself." Walter and Xenos descended into the excavation, the cool air of the underground passage raising goosebumps on Walter's skin. As they rounded a corner, both stopped short. Before them stood a massive doorway, its surface covered in intricate glowing symbols, unlike anything they had ever seen. It was open, revealing a cavernous space beyond filled with sleek, otherworldly technology. "By the ancestors," Xenos breathed, her usual composure slipping. Walter approached the threshold cautiously, his hand instinctively reaching for his sidearm. "This isn't human tech," he said, "and I'm guessing it's not Daxamite either." Xenos shook her head, her cybernetic implants whirring as she scanned the room. "Negative. This technology far surpasses our capabilities." As they ventured further into the ancient outpost, the implications of their discovery began to sink in. This was evidence of a third, unknown species, one that had inhabited Proxima Centauri B long before humans or Daxamites arrived. Walter's mind raced. This changed everything. The potential strategic advantage of controlling such advanced technology could upset the delicate balance they had worked so hard to maintain. "We need to secure this site immediately," he said, turning to Xenos, "and we need to keep this quiet until we can figure out our next move." Xenos nodded in agreement, but her eyes betrayed a hint of conflict. Walter recognized the look. He felt it too, the pull of duty warring with the potential for shared discovery. "I propose a joint research team," Walter said, surprising himself with the suggestion. "Human and Daxamite scientists working together to unravel this mystery." Xenos considered for a moment, then nodded. "Agreed. It is the most logical course of action." As they emerged from the outpost, Walter was already composing a message to Admiral Hawthorne. They would need Earth's top scientists for this task. The news of the ancient outpost spread through the colony like wildfire, despite their best efforts to contain it. Within days, the delicate peace Walter and Xenos had fostered began to show signs of strain. Colonel Marcus Graves cornered Walter outside the colony's mess hall, his face flushed with hardly restrained anger. "This is our chance, Gordon," Graves hissed. "We can use this technology to drive these aliens off our world for good." Walter stood his ground. "That's not going to happen, Colonel. We're pursuing a cooperative approach." Graves sneered. "Cooperative? They're the enemy, Gordon. Or have you forgotten that while cozying up to your alien friend?" As Graves stormed off, Walter caught sight of Xenos across the courtyard. She was engaged in what appeared to be a heated discussion with Battle Mistress Cora. The Daxamite leader's body language radiated hostility. Later that evening, Walter found Xenos on the observation deck, her gaze fixed on the alien sky. "Trouble with Cora?" he asked, moving to stand beside her. Xenos sighed, a surprisingly human gesture. "She believes we should seize control of the outpost. She sees it as a way to regain her standing among our people." Walter nodded, understanding all too well the pressures they both faced. "We're walking a tightrope here, Xenos. One wrong move and everything we've worked for could fall apart." As they stood in companionable silence, Walter became acutely aware of Xenos' presence beside him. The weeks of working closely together had forged a connection between them that defied easy categorization. Xenos turned to face him, her expression uncharacteristically vulnerable. "Walter, I find myself experiencing reactions that are unfamiliar to me, emotions that are not typical for my species." Walter's heart rate quickened. "What kind of emotions?" Before Xenos could respond, an alarm blared throughout the colony. Walter's communicator buzzed urgently. "Chief, we've got incoming. Multiple ships just entered the system." Walter and Xenos exchanged a look of shared concern. The arrival of Admiral Hawthorne's fleet was about to change the game once again. As they raced to the command center, Walter's mind whirled with possibilities. The ancient outpost, the growing factions within the colony, and now the arrival of Earth's military might. The situation was becoming more complex by the moment. Little did they know, aboard one of the incoming ships, Dr. Elena Rodriguez was reviewing her briefing materials, unaware that her expertise would soon be crucial to unraveling the mysteries hidden beneath the surface of Proxima Centauri b, mysteries that could reshape the future of both human and Daxamite civilizations. The command center buzzed with activity as Admiral Hawthorne's fleet settled into orbit around Proxima Centauri b. Walter and Xenos stood side by side, watching the holographic display as the incoming ships took up defensive positions. "Quite a show of force," Xenos observed, her voice low. Walter nodded, tension visible in the set of his shoulders. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that." As if on cue, Admiral Hawthorne's stern visage appeared on the main view screen. "Gordon, report." Walter straightened, years of military training kicking in. "Admiral, the situation is complex. We've made significant progress in human-Daxamite relations, but there are factions on both sides resistant to cooperation." He hesitated, glancing at Xenos, then continued. "There's something else, sir. We've discovered an ancient alien outpost. The technology inside could be a game-changer." Hawthorne's eyes narrowed. "I want a full briefing in 1 hour. And Gordon, make sure your Daxamite associate is there." The screen went dark, leaving Walter and Xenos to exchange worried glances. An hour later, they stood in the colony's makeshift conference room, surrounded by a mix of human and Daxamite leaders. The tension in the air was palpable as Admiral Hawthorne entered, flanked by his senior staff. Walter led the briefing, detailing the discovery of the outpost and the potential of the technology within. As he spoke, he could see the hunger in the eyes of both humans and Daxamites. The energy source powering the facility appears to be a highly advanced form of fusion reactor, Walter explained, bringing up a holographic model. "If we can replicate this technology, it could meet our energy needs for centuries." A murmur ran through the assembled leaders. Admiral Hawthorne leaned forward, his gaze intense. And you're certain this technology is beyond both human and Daxamite capabilities? Xenos stepped forward. Affirmative, Admiral. Our analysis indicates this reactor design is far more stable and efficient than anything our species has achieved. Hawthorne nodded slowly, his mind clearly racing with the strategic implications. We need to secure this site immediately. I'm ordering a security cordon around the outpost. The Daxamite leaders bristled at this, Battle Mistress Cora rising to her feet. This outpost was discovered jointly. You have no right to claim it for yourselves. As arguments erupted around the table, Walter caught Xenos' eye. They both recognized the powder keg they were sitting on. Over the next few days, tensions escalated rapidly. Human soldiers established a perimeter around the outpost, while Daxamite warriors conducted aggressive patrols nearby. The colony itself became a hotbed of whispered accusations and barely concealed hostility. Walter found himself working tirelessly to maintain order, often alongside Xenos. Their partnership had become a symbol of cooperation to some and a target for others. One evening, as they walked the colony's perimeter, Xenos pulled Walter aside. Her usual composure was shaken, her voice low and urgent. Walter, I have information. Cora is planning an attack on the human colony. She believes seizing control of the outpost is the only way to ensure Daxamite supremacy. Walter's blood ran cold. Are you sure? Xenos nodded, her cybernetic implants gleaming in the dim light. I intercepted communications. The attack is imminent. For a moment, Walter was silent, weighing his options. Then, with a determined set to his jaw, he activated his communicator. Get me Admiral Hawthorne, immediately. In the Admiral's makeshift office, Walter laid out a daring plan. We can neutralize Cora's forces without starting a war, but it'll require cooperation between humans and Daxamites. Hawthorne's eyes narrowed. You're proposing a joint strike team? With them? He gestured towards Xenos, who stood silently at Walter's side. Yes, sir. Xenos and I would lead the operation. We can capture Cora and expose her actions to both species leadership. The Admiral was silent for a long moment, his weathered face unreadable. Finally, he spoke. It's a risky play, Gordon. If this goes wrong, we could have an interstellar war on our hands. Walter stood his ground. It's a risk we have to take, sir. The alternative is certain conflict. Hawthorne sighed heavily. All right, Gordon, you have my authorization, but I'm assigning you some additional support. He tapped his communicator. Send in Sergeant Martinez. The door slid open, revealing a grizzled, battle-scarred soldier. Sergeant Jake Martinez entered, his eyes immediately locking onto Xenos with unconcealed suspicion. Martinez will lead a team of our best operatives to back you up, Hawthorne explained. He's one of our most experienced combat veterans. Walter nodded, recognizing the implicit message. Martinez was there as much to watch Xenos as to support the mission. As they left the Admiral's office to begin planning the operation, Walter felt the weight of responsibility settling heavily on his shoulders. The fate of two species might well rest on the success of their mission. Little did he know, at that very moment, Colonel Marcus Graves was composing a coded message to Battle Mistress Cora, warning her of the impending attack. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shape the future of human-Daxamite relations for generations to come. In the ancient alien outpost, Dr. Elena Rodriguez worked feverishly, unaware of the gathering storm. Her eyes widened as she deciphered another section of the facility's databanks. The implications of what she was reading sent a chill down her spine. She reached for her communicator, knowing she had to warn Walter and the others before it was too late. As night fell on Proxima Centauri B, Walter and Xenos led their mixed team of human and Daxamite operatives towards Cora's hidden base. The fate of two worlds hung in the balance, with the ancient technology's true nature still undiscovered, waiting to add yet another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. Sergeant Martinez's team moved silently through the shadows, their weapons at the ready. Walter and Xenos led the way, their unlikely partnership a testament to the fragile alliance they hoped to preserve. As they approached Cora's hidden base, a brilliant flash of light erupted in the night sky. Walter's communicator buzzed urgently. Gordon, this is Hawthorne. We've got a situation up here. A new ship just entered the system. Walter exchanged a worried glance with Xenos. What kind of ship, Admiral? Unknown configuration. It's not one of ours, and the Daxamites are denying any knowledge of it. Before Walter could respond, a holographic projection appeared before them, flickering to life in the alien atmosphere. A figure materialized, tall, with iridescent skin and multiple sets of eyes. Its voice resonated with a strange, harmonic quality. Greetings, humans and Daxamites of Proxima Centauri b. I am Ambassador Zahn of the Galactic Concord. We come in peace and with an offer that may reshape the future of both your species. The sudden appearance of the alien diplomat threw the entire colony into chaos. The planned operation against Cora was immediately suspended as both human and Daxamite leaders scrambled to respond to this unexpected development. In the days that followed, Ambassador Zahn's arrival transformed the political landscape of Proxima Centauri b. The ambassador, impressed by reports of the joint human-Daxamite operation that had been interrupted, proposed a bold initiative, the establishment of an interstellar spaceport on the planet, serving as a hub for galactic commerce and cultural exchange. Walter found himself thrust into the center of negotiations. He stood before a mixed audience of humans, Daxamites, and Galactic Concord representatives, his voice passionate as he advocated for the spaceport project. This is our chance, he urged, his eyes sweeping across the assembled leaders. Not just to secure humanity's place among the stars, but to forge a lasting alliance with the Daxamites. This spaceport could be the cornerstone of a new era of cooperation and mutual prosperity. Admiral Hawthorne nodded approvingly from the sidelines, recognizing the strategic value of such an alliance. Even some of the more skeptical Daxamite leaders seemed swayed by the potential benefits. However, opposition quickly emerged from unexpected quarters. Dr. Marcus Chen, a brilliant but ruthlessly ambitious astrophysicist, rose to challenge Walter's proposal. We're sitting on a goldmine of ancient alien technology, Chen argued, his eyes glinting with barely concealed greed. Why should we share these discoveries with other species when we could use them to secure humanity's dominance in the galaxy? Walter watched with growing concern as Chen's words found purchase among a faction of human colonists. The scientist began organizing clandestine meetings, his followers growing in number as he promised technological supremacy and unlimited power. On the Daxamite side, Elder Valxora emerged as a vocal opponent of further collaboration with humans. The aged warrior, her carapace etched with the scars of countless battles, challenged the authority of more moderate Daxamite leaders. We have already strayed too far from our true path, Valxora declared during a heated council meeting. This human infestation must be purged before it corrupts the very essence of our species. As tensions rose, Walter found himself working more closely than ever with Xenos. Their partnership, once viewed with suspicion, now served as a beacon of hope for those who believed in the possibility of peaceful coexistence. One evening, as they pored over security reports in Walter's office, Xenos placed a hand on his shoulder. The gesture, so human in its intimacy, caught Walter off guard. Your people have a saying, Xenos said, her multifaceted eyes reflecting the soft glow of the computer screens. Unity in diversity. I believe we are living proof of that concept. Walter nodded, acutely aware of the warmth of Xenos' touch. We've come a long way, haven't we? From enemies to whatever we are now. Before Xenos could respond, an alarm blared through the colony. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's face appeared on the main view screen, her expression a mix of excitement and fear. Walter, Xenos, you need to see this immediately. We've made a breakthrough in decoding the ancient databanks. It's incredible. Minutes later, they stood in the ancient outpost, staring at a holographic display that showed a vast network of interconnected points. Wormholes, Elena explained, her voice hushed with awe. The previous inhabitants of this planet had developed a system of instantaneous interstellar travel. If we can replicate this technology... Walter's mind raced with the implications. Such a discovery could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy and potentially reignite conflicts between humans and Daxamites. As if sensing the growing tension, Ambassador Zane stepped forward. Perhaps, the alien diplomat suggested, this technology could be developed jointly, with shared control systems to prevent any one species from monopolizing its power. The proposal sparked intense debate among all factions. Moderates on both sides saw the potential for unprecedented cooperation, while isolationists like Dr. Chen and Elder Valksora bristled at the idea of sharing such a powerful discovery. As negotiations grew increasingly heated, Walter received an urgent message from one of his intelligence sources. Dr. Chen's faction was planning to seize control of the ancient outpost in the wormhole technology. Simultaneously, Elder Valksora's traditionalists were preparing an attack on the human colony to disrupt the alliance negotiations. Walter turned to Xenos, his expression grim. "We need to act fast, or everything we've worked for could be lost." Together, they devised a daring plan to expose both factions simultaneously. They would organize a public demonstration of human Daxamite cooperation, inviting leaders from both species and the Galactic Concord to witness a joint scientific breakthrough. As preparations for the event got underway, Walter couldn't shake the feeling that they were balanced on a knife's edge. The future of two species, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. Little did he know, the true nature of the ancient technology was about to reveal itself, adding yet another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. As the day of the demonstration approached, Walter and Xenos worked tirelessly, knowing that their actions in the coming hours could determine the course of interstellar relations for generations to come. As the sun rose over Proxima Centauri b, casting its reddish glow across the colony, Walter and Xenos stood atop the newly constructed observation deck, surveying the bustling activity below. The interstellar spaceport project was in full swing, transforming the once quiet outpost into a hive of activity. Alien workers scurried alongside humans and Daxamites, their diverse forms a testament to the new era of cooperation ushered in by the Galactic Concord's invitation. "I never imagined we'd see anything like this," Walter mused, his eyes tracking a massive anti-gravity crane as it lifted a prefabricated module into place. Xenos nodded, her cybernetic implants gleaming in the early morning light. "It is impressive, but with such rapid change comes new challenges." As if on cue, Walter's communicator buzzed. He frowned at the display. "Another accident at the construction site. That's the third this week." They made their way to the incident location, weaving through a crowd of concerned workers. A twisted heap of metal and circuitry lay smoking on the ground, narrowly missing a group of Arcturian technicians. "This equipment was top of the line," one of the human foremen explained, his face etched with frustration. "There's no way it should have failed like this." Walter knelt to examine the wreckage, his military training kicking in. "This wasn't an accident," he muttered, pointing to a series of clean cuts in the metal. "Someone sabotaged it." Xenos' eyes narrowed. "We need to initiate a full security review. If there are saboteurs among us..." Walter nodded grimly. "I'll assemble a team. We need to get to the bottom of this before someone gets hurt." Over the next few weeks, Walter and Xenos worked tirelessly, combing through security footage and interviewing workers. The pattern that emerged was disturbing. A series of carefully orchestrated accidents designed to slow progress on the spaceport without raising suspicion. Their breakthrough came when they intercepted a coded transmission from within the colony. Working with Dr. Elena Rodriguez, they decrypted the message, revealing the existence of a group calling itself the Isolationist Collective. "They're not just opposed to the spaceport," Elena explained, her eyes wide as she scrolled through the decrypted data. "They want to stop galactic integration entirely, and they have operatives from multiple species." Walter's fist tight. "We need to warn Admiral Hawthorne and the Daxamite High Command. If this group has infiltrated other colonies..." Before he could finish, alarms blared throughout the complex. Xenos' communicator crackled to life with an urgent message from the security team. "Intruders detected in Sector 7. They're using some kind of advanced cloaking technology." Walter and Xenos exchanged a brief look before springing into action. They raced towards the partially constructed spaceport, gathering a mixed team of human and Daxamite security personnel along the way. As they approached Sector 7, The air shimmered with the telltale distortion of active cloaking fields. Walter raised his hand, signaling the team to halt. "Thermal imaging," he whispered to Xenos. She nodded, her cybernetic eyes adjusting to reveal heat signatures moving among the scaffolding. "I count 12 hostiles," she reported. "They're placing devices at key structural points." Walter's mind raced, formulating a plan. "Alpha team, with me. We'll flank from the east. Xenos, take Bravo team and cut off their escape route. Disable those devices at all costs." The joint human Daxamite force moved with practiced precision, their earlier training exercises paying off. As they closed in, the air crackled with energy as the intruders realized they'd been detected. A figure materialized at the center of the chaos, a tall, lean human with piercing blue eyes and a shock of white hair. He raised a sleek weapon, firing a burst of energy that sent Walter's team scrambling for cover. "I am Gabriel Frost," the man announced, his voice carrying across the battlefield. "And I will not allow your misguided progress to contaminate humanity's destiny." Walter ducked behind a stack of crates, narrowly avoiding another energy blast. He caught Xenos' eye across the battlefield and signaled toward a cluster of explosive devices attached to a main support beam. Understanding flashed between them. Xenos launched herself into the air, her Daxamite physiology allowing her to leap impossible distances. She landed beside the devices, her cybernetic arms working furiously to disarm them. Gabriel Frost saw the maneuver and snarled, redirecting his fire toward Xenos. Walter seized the opportunity, breaking from cover and tackling Frost to the ground. They grappled fiercely, Frost's enhanced strength nearly a match for Walter's combat training. Around them, the battle raged. Human and Daxamite security forces worked in tandem, their complementary skills overwhelming the isolationist operatives. Energy weapons flashed, and the clang of metal on metal echoed through the partially built structure. A thunderous crack split the air. Walter looked up to see a massive support beam beginning to buckle, weakened by the firefight. It was falling directly toward Xenos, still working to disarm the last of the explosives. Without hesitation, Walter shoved Frost aside and sprinted toward his partner. Time seemed to slow as he pushed his body to its limits, crossing the distance in a matter of heartbeats. He slammed into Xenos, knocking them both clear as the beam crashed down, missing them by inches. They lay there for a moment, breathless, the weight of their near miss hanging in the air between them. Xenos's multifaceted eyes met Walter's, a depth of emotion in them that he had never seen before. The moment was broken by the sound of restraints being applied. They looked up to see Gabriel Frost and his team being secured by the Joint Security Force. The attack had been thwarted, but the implications of its scale were just beginning to sink in. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Walter helped Xenos to her feet. They surveyed the damage to the construction site, their minds already racing with the challenges ahead. "We need to inform Ambassador Zahn," Walter said, his voice hoarse from the exertion. "The Galactic Concord needs to know about this threat." Xenos nodded, her usual composure returning. "This will likely accelerate plans for the summit. We must be prepared." As if in response to their concerns, a brilliant flash lit up the sky. They turned to see a massive solar flare erupting from Proxima Centauri, its tendrils reaching out toward the planet like grasping fingers. Alarms began to sound throughout the colony. Walter's communicator buzzed with an incoming transmission from Admiral Hawthorne. "Gordon, get to the command center immediately. We have a situation." Walter and Xenos exchanged a grim look. The thwarted attack was just the beginning. As they hurried toward the command center, the sky continued to burn with the promise of new challenges to come. Walter and Xenos raced toward the command center, the crimson sky casting an eerie glow over the colony. As they burst through the doors, they found Admiral Hawthorne hunched over a holographic display, his face etched with concern. "The solar flares causing havoc with our systems," Hawthorne explained, gesturing to the flickering readouts. "We're looking at widespread power outages and potential damage to our defense grid." Walter's mind raced, assessing the situation. "We need to prioritize critical infrastructure. Xenos, can you coordinate with the engineering teams to reroute power from non-essential systems?" She nodded, her cybernetic implants already interfacing with the colony's network. "I'm on it. But we'll need to work fast. The radiation levels are rising. For the next 72 hours, Walter led a relentless effort to stabilize the colony. He organized repair crews, implemented emergency protocols, and made split-second decisions that pushed the limits of both human and alien technology. The colony hummed with activity as species from across the galaxy worked side by side, their differences set aside in the face of crisis. As the immediate danger passed, Walter found himself facing a new challenge. A tall, imposing Daxamite with steel-gray skin and piercing silver eyes approached him in the control room. "Walter Gordon," the alien said, his voice a low rumble. "I am Jerex, sent by the Daxamite High Command to evaluate Xenos' performance and loyalty." Walter felt a knot form in his stomach. "Welcome to Proxima Centauri B, Jerex. I assure you, Xenos has been an invaluable asset to our operation here." Jerex's eyes narrowed. "We shall see. The integration of our species is unprecedented. There are concerns among the traditionalists about the potential dilution of Daxamite values and strength." Over the next few days, Jerex's presence created a palpable tension throughout the colony. He shadowed Xenos constantly, questioning her decisions and scrutinizing her interactions with the human colonists. Walter observed several heated exchanges between them, Jerex's traditional views clashing with the spirit of cooperation that had flourished on the colony. One evening, as Walter was reviewing security protocols for the upcoming summit, Xenos entered his office, her usually composed demeanor showing signs of strain. "Jerex is challenging," she said, sinking into a chair. "He sees our work here as a threat to Daxamite culture. I fear his report may jeopardize everything we've built." Walter leaned forward, his voice low and intense. "We'll prove him wrong. The summit is our chance to show the galaxy what we've accomplished here." As the date of the Galactic Summit approached, Walter threw himself into preparations. He implemented enhanced security measures, including cutting-edge scanners capable of detecting a wide range of alien physiologies and a diverse security force composed of humans, Daxamites, and other allied species. Recognizing Xenos' unique capabilities, Walter assigned her to lead a special response team. "Your knowledge of potential Daxamite threats could be crucial," he explained during a strategy session, "and your combat skills are unmatched." Xenos nodded, a glimmer of pride in her multifaceted eyes. "I won't let you down, Walter. We've come too far to fail now." The arrival of the delegates put their preparations to the test. A malfunctioning docking system nearly caused a diplomatic disaster when a Rigelian ship veered off course, its plasma engines flaring dangerously close to the colony's outer dome. Walter sprang into action, racing to the control tower. His fingers flew over the command console, manually overriding the docking protocols and guiding the ship to safety with only meters to spare. As the shaken Rigelian ambassador emerged from his ship, Walter greeted him with a calm smile. "Welcome to Proxima Centauri B, Ambassador. I apologize for the rough landing. I assure you, the rest of your stay will be much smoother." The summit opened with high tensions as Ambassador Zahn addressed the assembled delegates. "We face a threat not just to this colony, but to the very idea of galactic cooperation," he said, his tentacles waving for emphasis. "The isolationist collective seeks to divide us, to turn our differences into weaknesses. We must stand united." Midway through a crucial negotiation session, the colony's power grid failed, plunging the conference center into darkness. Panic rippled through the crowd of delegates, many of whom were unused to such primitive conditions. Walter's voice cut through the chaos. "Everyone remain calm. Emergency systems will be online momentarily." True to his word, the backup generators kicked in within seconds, bathing the room in a soft blue glow. The delegates, impressed by the quick response, settled back into their seats, crisis averted. As the summit progressed, Walter found himself constantly on edge, waiting for the other shoe to drop. His instincts proved correct when alarms blared throughout the colony, signaling a biohazard alert. "The isolationists," Walter growled, sprinting toward the command center. "They've released some kind of biological agent." He arrived to find Xenos already coordinating the response. "It's designed to target multiple species," she reported, her cybernetic eyes scanning incoming data. We need to lock down the affected areas immediately. Walter nodded, making a split-second decision. Activate the experimental air filtration system. It's our best chance to contain this. As the advanced filters hummed to life, Walter watched the sensor readings with suspenseful pause. The concentration of the biological agent began to drop, but not before several delegates, including the Daxamite evaluator Jerex, succumbed to its effects. With the summit in chaos and several key leaders incapacitated, Gabriel Frost made his move. Using advanced cloaking technology, he and his team infiltrated the conference center. Their goal clear: to assassinate the pro-cooperation leaders and destroy evidence of the ancient alien technology. Walter and Xenos led the counteroffensive, their movements in perfect sync as they battled through the partially completed spaceport. The diverse architecture, a blend of human, Daxamite, and alien designs, created a surreal backdrop for the fierce combat. As they fought their way through Frost's forces, Walter couldn't help but admire Xenos' fluid grace in battle. Her cybernetic enhancements allowed her to anticipate and counter attacks with inhuman speed, while her Daxamite strength sent enemies flying with each precisely placed blow. The final confrontation took place atop an unfinished skywalk, its transparent floor offering a dizzying view of the colony below. Walter faced off against Gabriel Frost, their hand-to-hand combat a brutal dance of skill and tenacity. Frost's enhanced strength gave him an edge, and Walter found himself being forced back toward the edge of the skywalk. Just as it seemed Frost might prevail, a blur of motion caught Walter's eye. Xenos, having dispatched Frost's lieutenants, leapt to Walter's aid. Together they coordinated their attacks, overwhelming Frost's defenses. With a final, decisive blow, they sent the isolationist leader crashing to the floor, unconscious. As they secured Frost and his team, Walter noticed Jerex watching from a nearby platform. The Daxamite evaluator's expression was unreadable, but there was a new respect in his eyes as he observed the seamless cooperation between human and Daxamite. In the aftermath of the attack, the summit delegates gathered for an emergency session. The vote was unanimous. Both humans and Daxamites would be fast-tracked for membership in the Galactic Concord. As the cheers of celebration echoed through the conference center, Walter and Xenos found a quiet moment alone. They stood on a balcony overlooking the colony, the reddish light of Proxima Centauri bathing them in a warm glow. "We did it," Walter said softly, acutely aware of Xenos' presence beside him. She turned to face him, her multifaceted eyes reflecting the alien sunset. "Yes, but at what cost? The damage to the colony, the advanced weapons used by the isolationists. We've entered a new era, Walter. One filled with as much danger as opportunity." Walter nodded, his expression thoughtful. "You're right, but whatever challenges lie ahead, I'm glad we'll face them together." As they stood there, heroes of two worlds united, the weight of their accomplishments and the mysteries yet to be unraveled hung in the air between them. The story of Proxima Centauri b and its unlikely alliance was nowhere near the end. The celebration following the Galactic Summit's successful conclusion was short-lived. As the last delegates departed, Walter and Xenos found themselves thrust into a whirlwind of activity. Proxima Centauri b, once a remote outpost, now stood at the center of galactic attention. Walter's office became a hub of constant communication, with requests for meetings and collaborations pouring in from across the galaxy. He barely had time to catch his breath between coordinating diplomatic missions and overseeing technological exchanges. One evening, as he pored over schematics for a new interspecies research facility, Xenos entered, her cybernetic eyes glowing softly in the dim light. "The Arcturian delegation has arrived," she reported. "They're eager to begin work on integrating their quantum computing systems with our power grid." Walter nodded, suppressing a yawn. "Schedule them for tomorrow morning. And can you ask Dr. Chen to join us? Her expertise in xenotechnology will be crucial." As they worked late into the night, a notification flashed across Walter's holo display. His eyes widened as he read the message. "Xenos, look at this," he said, voice tight with excitement. "The team working on the ancient power source, they've had a breakthrough." The next day, Walter stood in the newly constructed laboratory, surrounded by a diverse team of human, Daxamite, and Concord scientists. Dr. Alara Venn, a brilliant human physicist, manipulated a holographic model of the alien artifact. By reverse engineering key components, she explained, her hands dancing through the projection, we've unlocked a method of energy production that dwarfs anything in our current arsenal. The implications were staggering. With this technology, the colony's persistent energy shortages would become a thing of the past. More importantly, it could revolutionize interstellar travel, making faster-than-light propulsion a reality for ships of all sizes. As word of the breakthrough spread, Walter noticed an uptick in security incidents around the colony, attempted data breaches, suspicious sensor readings on the outskirts of the system, signs that their achievement had not gone unnoticed by less savory elements of galactic society. His concerns were validated when a sleek, gunmetal gray ship arrived in orbit, bearing the insignia of the Galactic Concord. From it emerged Commander Zax, an Arcturian peacekeeper with a reputation for ruthless efficiency. "Mr. Gordon," Zax said, his four eyes blinking in an unsettling pattern as they met in the colony's administrative center. "I've been tasked with ensuring the security of your recent acquisition." Walter bristled at the implied ownership. "The technology belongs to all species represented here, Commander. We're committed to sharing its benefits responsibly." Zax's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "Noble sentiment, but naive. My team will be implementing new security protocols immediately." The Arcturian's presence created immediate friction. His heavy-handed approach clashed with the spirit of cooperation Walter had fostered. More than once, Walter had to intervene to prevent diplomatic incidents between Zax's security forces and the colony's diverse population. Amidst this tension, Xenos faced challenges of her own. A transmission from the Daxamite High Command arrived, its contents visibly unsettling her. "They want me to return home," she told Walter, her usually steady voice wavering. "The traditionalists are pushing for my re-education. They see my work here as a corruption of Daxamite values." Walter's mind raced. The thought of losing Xenos was unbearable, both personally and professionally. Her unique insights and abilities had become integral to the colony's success. An idea began to form. "What if we gave them a reason to keep you here?" he mused. "A project so important to Daxamite interests that they couldn't justify recalling you." Over the next few days, Walter worked feverishly to develop his proposal. The plan took shape, a joint human Daxamite research outpost on a nearby moon. It would serve as a neutral ground for continued cooperation, while also providing a strategic foothold in the system. He presented the idea to Ambassador Zahn, who saw its potential immediately. "This could be the key to cementing our alliance," the Aquilian said, his tentacles rippling with excitement. Not everyone shared their enthusiasm. Hardliners on both sides decried the plan as a dilution of their respective cultures. Commander Zax viewed it as a security nightmare. Despite the opposition, construction began. Walter and Xenos found themselves shuttling between the colony and the lunar site, overseeing every aspect of the project. Their efforts were hampered by a series of inexplicable accidents, equipment malfunctions, structural failures, each incident more sophisticated than the last. "This isn't random," Xenos said, examining the wreckage of a collapsed support strut. "The precision, the timing, it bears the hallmarks of isolationist collective tactics." Walter nodded grimly. "They're evolving, adapting to our defenses. We need to find out how they're operating within our security perimeter." Their investigation uncovered a network of sleeper agents embedded throughout the colony. Some were recent arrivals, others long-term residents whose loyalties had been turned. The revelation sent shockwaves through the community, sowing seeds of distrust. As Walter and Xenos worked to root out the infiltrators, a new crisis loomed. A massive Daxamite warship appeared at the edge of the system, its weapons systems powered and ready. Admiral Krell, a notorious hardliner, addressed the colony via holographic transmission. His craggy features twisted in a sneer as he delivered his ultimatum. "Xenos will return with us immediately," he growled. "Any attempt to interfere will be met with force." Walter found himself in an impossible position. His duty to protect the colony warred with his personal feelings for Xenos and his belief in the importance of their joint mission. Before he could formulate a response, Ambassador Zahn requested an emergency meeting. The Aquilian's skin had turned a pale, sickly blue, a sign of extreme distress in his species. "We've received alarming intelligence from the Concorde's long-range probes," Zahn said, his voice barely above a whisper. "There's something out there, beyond known space, something ancient and hostile." The ambassador's revelation changed everything. The petty squabbles between humans and Daxamites paled in comparison to this new threat, a species known only as the precursors, awakening after millennia of dormancy. Walter saw an opportunity. He quickly revised his proposal for the lunar outpost, positioning it as an early warning system against this looming danger. Even Admiral Krell, presented with classified Concorde intelligence, couldn't deny the logic of the plan. The Daxamite warship's weapons powered down, and negotiations began in earnest. The result was a compromise. The outpost would proceed under joint command, Walter representing humanity, Xenos the Daxamites. It was far from perfect, but it allowed them to continue their work together. Construction accelerated at a frenetic pace. Walter and Xenos worked around the clock, pushing themselves and their teams to the limit. The fate of multiple species could rest on their ability to detect and respond to the precursor threat. Finally, after months of backbreaking labor and delicate diplomacy, the outpost was complete. Walter and Xenos stood together on its observation deck, gazing out at the star-studded void. A warning klaxon shattered the moment of peace. The long-range sensors had detected an anomaly, a disturbance in space-time that defied explanation. As they watched, a point of light appeared in the distance, growing steadily larger. Whatever was coming, it would reach them soon. Walter turned to Xenos, seeing his own mix of fear and willpower reflected in her multifaceted eyes. Together, they faced the viewport, bracing themselves for whatever the anomaly might bring. The future of human-Daxamite relations, indeed the future of the galaxy itself, hung in the balance as the unknown drew ever closer. Closer. The point of light expanded rapidly, resolving into a massive shape that dwarfed anything Walter had ever seen. His breath caught in his throat as the sheer scale of the object became apparent. "Alert all stations," he ordered, his voice steady despite the tension coiling in his chest. "Prepare for possible first contact." Xenos' cybernetic eyes whirred as she processed the incoming data. "Energy readings are off the charts. Whatever this is, it's beyond our current understanding." The outpost erupted into a flurry of activity. Human and Daxamite crew members worked side by side, their previous differences forgotten in the face of this new, potentially existential threat. Walter coordinated with the planetary defense forces on Proxima Centauri B, while Xenos liaised with the Daxamite fleet that had remained in orbit. As the hours ticked by, reinforcements arrived. A contingent of galactic Concorde warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, their sleek hulls overflowing with weapons. Commander Zax's voice crackled over the comm system. "We stand ready to assist, Mr. Gordon. The Concorde takes this threat seriously." Walter acknowledged the support, but his mind was already racing ahead, formulating strategies. He turned to Xenos, who nodded in unspoken understanding. They had faced challenges together before, but this was on an entirely different scale. The anomaly, now clearly visible as an enormous vessel of unknown origin, entered the system. Its surface was a patchwork of geometric shapes and pulsing lights, defying conventional starship design. As it approached, it emitted a blinding pulse of energy. Alarms blared throughout the outpost. Screens flickered and died, communication channels filled with static. Walter gripped the edge of the control console, fighting to maintain his balance as the structure shuddered around him. "Status report," he barked. A human technician, her face illuminated by the glow of an emergency terminal, responded. "Long-range communications are down. Sensors are offline. We're cut off from the colony and the fleet." Xenos interjected, her voice tinged with surprise. "Not entirely. Our internal systems are still operational. The shielding derived from the ancient technology is holding." Walter's mind raced. They were isolated, but not helpless. The very technology that had brought them to this point might be their salvation. He made a quick decision. "We need more information. prep a shuttle for launch. We're going to deploy stealth probes around that ship. Xenos' multifaceted eyes widened. You mean to go yourself? Walter nodded grimly. I need to see this up close. Assemble a team, a mix of our best human and Daxamite operatives. Within the hour, Walter found himself strapped into the pilot's seat of a sleek, unmarked shuttle. Beside him sat Xenos, with 4 other crew members, 2 humans and 2 Daxamites, in the rear compartment. As they launched from the outpost bay, the massive alien vessel loomed before them, filling the view screen. They approached cautiously, relying on the shuttle's advanced stealth systems to avoid detection. Walter guided the craft in a wide arc, deploying probes at strategic intervals. The tension in the cockpit was palpable, each crew member acutely aware of their vulnerability in the shadow of the colossal ship. Suddenly, warning lights flashed across the control panel. The shuttle shuddered violently, its engines sputtering. We're losing power, Walter grunted, wrestling with the controls. Brace for impact. The shuttle plummeted toward the surface of the alien vessel. Walter managed to level their descent at the last moment, bringing them down in a screeching, skidding landing on a vast flat expanse of the ship's hull. As the dust settled, Walter took stock of their situation. The shuttle was damaged beyond repair, its hull breached in multiple places. Everyone okay? He called out, unbuckling his harness. A chorus of affirmatives answered him. As the team gathered their emergency gear, Walter peered out at the alien landscape surrounding them. The surface of the ship was a maze of interconnected structures, pulsing with an eerie internal light. We need to find a way inside, he said, securing his helmet. Stay close and stay alert. They ventured out onto the hull, magnetic boots keeping them anchored in the low gravity. After a tense search, they discovered an airlock-like structure. With a combination of human ingenuity and Daxamite technology, they managed to bypass its security systems and gain entry. The interior of the ship was vast and eerily silent. Corridors stretched in every direction, their walls lined with pulsing conduits and strange, organic-looking technology. As they explored deeper, Walter began to notice similarities to the ancient outpost on Proxima Centauri b. The architecture, the energy signatures, it all pointed to a common origin. These must be the precursors the Concorde warned us about, he murmured, running his hand along a wall covered in intricate glowing symbols. Their explorations led them to a massive chamber that could only be the ship's control center. Suspended in the center was a network of translucent pods, each containing a humanoid figure. They're in stasis, Xenos observed, her cybernetic eyes scanning the pods. The entire ship seems to be on some kind of automated routine. Walter approached a central console, its surface coming to life at his touch. Intuition guided his hands as he navigated the alien interface, drawing on his experience with the technology back on Proxima Centauri b. I think I can access their database, he said, fingers flying over the controls. If we can understand their intentions, maybe we can prevent a war before it starts. As Walter delved deeper into the precursor systems, Xenos kept watch, her enhanced senses alert for any sign of danger. The rest of the team secured the perimeter, awed by the advanced technology surrounding them. Back at the outpost, Xenos' decision to take command had galvanized the combined human and Daxamite forces. Her tactical acumen, honed by years of working alongside Walter, proved invaluable as she coordinated the defense fleet's movements. Admiral Krell, observing from his flagship, found himself reluctantly impressed. The human influence has made her unpredictable, he muttered to his second-in-command, but effective. As the precursor vessel entered weapons range, tension reached a fever pitch. Fingers hovered over firing controls, crews stood at battle stations. The fate of multiple civilizations hung in the balance. In the control room of the alien ship, Walter's eyes widened as he finally broke through the last layer of encryption. Xenos, he called out, his voice filled with urgency and wonder. You need to see this. The Daxamite hurried to his side, peering at the streams of data flowing across the alien screens. As Walter explained his findings, her expression shifted from confusion to awe. We need to contact the outpost, Walter said, already moving to jury-rig a communication system. If we don't stop them from attacking, will be destroying the greatest gift our species have ever received. Working feverishly, Walter managed to boost their signal using the precursor ship's own systems. As Xenos received the transmission, her mandibles clicked in a Daxamite expression of surprise and relief. With seconds to spare, she opened a channel to the entire fleet. "All ships, stand down," she ordered, her voice carrying the full weight of command. "This is not an attack. Repeat, stand down and prepare for first contact protocols." A tense moment passed as her order was relayed and processed. Then, one by one, weapon systems powered down. The assembled fleet hung motionless in space as the precursor vessel initiated its own first contact procedures, vast sections of its hull beginning to transform and reconfigure. In the control room, Walter and Xenos shared a look of profound relief and anticipation. They had averted disaster and opened the door to a new era of galactic cooperation. As they prepared to receive the first official delegation from the assembled fleet, both knew that their greatest challenges and greatest opportunities lay ahead. The precursor ship extended glowing tendrils of energy, forming a secure docking corridor. As representatives from every species began to board, Walter and Xenos stood at the threshold of a new chapter in galactic history, ready to face whatever wonders and trials awaited them. As the first representatives from the assembled fleet stepped through the glowing energy corridor, Walter and Xenos stood side by side, ready to greet them. The air crackled with anticipation as human, Daxamite, and Galactic Concord delegates entered the vast chamber of the precursor vessel. Admiral Hawthorne led the human contingent, his weathered face a mix of awe and dedication. Admiral Krell, mandibles clicking softly, headed the Daxamite group. Commander Zax of the Galactic Concord brought up the rear, his crystalline form refracting the pulsing lights of the alien ship. "Welcome aboard," Walter said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "What we've discovered here, it's beyond anything we could have imagined." Xenos nodded, her multifaceted eyes scanning the assembled group. The precursors left behind a legacy that could reshape our understanding of the universe. As the delegation moved deeper into the ship, Walter and Xenos took turns explaining their findings. They passed through corridors lined with pulsing biomechanical interfaces, entered vast chambers filled with holographic star maps, and marveled at energy generators that seemed to defy the laws of physics. In one circular room, they gathered around a central pedestal. Walter placed his hand on its smooth surface, and a holographic display sprang to life, filling the air with swirling symbols and diagrams. "This," he said, gesturing to the intricate patterns, "is just a fraction of the knowledge the precursors left behind. We've only scratched the surface of what's stored in these databanks." Admiral Hawthorne stepped forward, his eyes wide. "The implications for our sciences, our technologies, are immense," Xenos finished. "But it's not just raw data. The precursors left tools, devices that could revolutionize how we interact with each other and the universe." She led them to an adjoining chamber where a sleek silver device sat on a raised platform. It resembled two intertwined spirals, pulsing with a soft blue light. "We believe this device was designed to enhance interspecies communication and understanding," Xenos explained. "It appears to create a direct neural link, allowing for the sharing of thoughts and emotions." Walter nodded. "Xenos and I have volunteered to test it. We believe it could be key to furthering relations between our species and others." Admiral Krell's mandibles twitched, a sign of Daxamite concern. "Are you certain it's safe?" "As certain as we can be," Walter replied. "We've run every test we could think of. Now it's time for a practical demonstration." With a nod from the assembled leaders, Walter and Xenos approached the device. They each placed a hand on one of the spirals, and the blue light intensified, enveloping them in a soft glow. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then Walter gasped, his eyes widening. Beside him, Xenos' antennae quivered. "It's incredible," Walter breathed. "I can feel Xenos' thoughts, her emotions. It's like I'm seeing through her eyes." Xenos' multifaceted eyes gleamed. "The complexity of human emotion. It's overwhelming, yet beautiful. I understand now, in a way I never could before." As the device's effect faded, Walter and Xenos stepped back, visibly moved by the experience. The assembled delegates murmured in excitement, realizing the potential of such technology. Over the next few weeks, exploration of the precursor vessel continued. Walter took charge of integrating the ancient technology with human and Daxamite systems, working tirelessly alongside scientists and engineers from both species. In a makeshift lab aboard the precursor ship, Walter hunched over a workbench, carefully connecting a piece of precursor tech to a human power source. Xenos entered, carrying a datapad. "The latest results from the energy production tests," she said, handing him the pad. "The efficiency increases are unprecedented." Walter whistled as he scrolled through the data. "This could solve our energy crisis back on Earth, and the applications for space travel are equally impressive," Xenos finished. "The Daxamite High Command is already discussing plans for long-range exploration vessels using these principles." As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the benefits of the precursor knowledge became increasingly apparent. New medical treatments emerged, curing diseases that had long plagued both humans and Daxamites. Space travel became faster and more efficient, opening up new areas of the galaxy for exploration. The success of the joint human-Daxamite efforts did not go unnoticed. Opposition to the alliance began to crumble in the face of undeniable progress. Even Admiral Krell, once skeptical of human involvement, became one of the strongest advocates for continued cooperation. In a meeting room on the Proxima Centauri B outpost, Admiral Krell addressed a group of Daxamite officers, his voice filled with conviction. "I once doubted the wisdom of this alliance," he said, mandibles clicking for emphasis. "I was wrong. The humans have proven themselves not just worthy allies, but essential partners in our journey to the stars." On Earth, similar sentiments were echoed in the halls of power. The undeniable success of the Proxima Centauri B colony, coupled with the technological windfall from the precursor encounter, silenced most critics of alien cooperation. As news of their achievements spread, Walter and Xenos found themselves at the center of galactic attention. The Galactic Concord, impressed by their handling of the precursor situation, fast-tracked both humans and Daxamites for full membership. Months after the initial contact with the precursor vessel, Walter and Xenos stood before the Galactic Concord Assembly. The Grand Chamber was filled with representatives from hundreds of alien races, all eyes focused on the human-Daxamite pair. Walter stepped forward, his voice clear and strong. "Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Concord, we come before you today not just as envoys of our respective species, but as living proof of what can be achieved through cooperation and understanding." Xenos continued, her mandibles moving in perfect sync with Walter's words. "Our journey began as adversaries, became a partnership, and has blossomed into something greater than either of us could have imagined." As they shared their experiences and vision for the future, the chamber fell silent, captivated by their words. When they finished, the silence broke into thunderous applause, representatives rising to their feet in a standing ovation. In the wake of their speech, Walter and Xenos were appointed joint ambassadors to the Galactic Concord. They embraced their new roles with characteristic dedication, establishing a diplomatic corps that would train human and Daxamite cadets to work together in representing their alliance. As they stood on the observation deck of the Galactic Concord headquarters, overlooking the bustling spaceport below, Walter turned to Xenos, his eyes shining with an unspoken question. "Xenos," he began, his voice soft, "we've been through so much together. We've faced death, made history, changed the course of our civilizations. But there's one more step I'd like to take, if you're willing." Xenos's antennae quivered, sensing the weight of the moment. "What did you have in mind, Walter?" He took her hand in his, the gesture familiar yet charged with new meaning. "I think it's time we made our partnership official, not just as colleagues or ambassadors, but as life mates. What do you say to a ceremony that combines the best of human and Daxamite traditions?" Xenos's multifaceted eyes gleamed with emotion. "I say yes, Walter, 1,000 times yes." As news of their impending union spread, preparations began for a ceremony unlike any the galaxy had seen before. The site chosen was poignant, the very spot on Proxima Centauri B, where Walter and Xenos had first fought years ago. The day of the ceremony arrived, and the area was transformed. A grand pavilion stood where once there had been only barren rock. Delegates from Earth, the Daxamite homeworld, and various Concord species filled the seats, a living testament to the unity Walter and Xenos had helped forge. As the twin suns of Proxima Centauri b began to set, casting a warm glow over the gathered crowd, Walter and Xenos stood before their guests. Admiral Hawthorne and Admiral Krell took their places as officiants, their presence a powerful symbol of how far both species had come. Walter, dressed in a sleek suit that incorporated elements of Daxamite design, took Xenos' hands in his. Xenos, her exoskeleton polished to a brilliant sheen and adorned with human-inspired decorations, gazed at him with all four of her eyes. "In the vast expanse of the cosmos," Walter began, his voice carrying across the hushed crowd, "I never expected to find a partner like you, Xenos. You've challenged me, supported me, and shown me the true meaning of unity and diversity." Xenos' mandibles clicked softly as she responded, her words translated for the benefit of the human guests. "Walter, you've opened my eyes to possibilities I never knew existed. Together, we've crossed the boundaries of species and forged a bond that I believe will stand the test of time." As they exchanged vows that blended human and Daxamite traditions, a soft hum filled the air. The assembled guests looked around in confusion, searching for the source of the sound. Suddenly, a beam of light shot from a nearby precursor artifact that Walter and Xenos had discovered during their explorations. The beam coalesced into a holographic projection, filling the sky above the ceremony with swirling patterns of light and color. A voice, ancient yet clear, echoed across the gathering. "Witnesses to this union, know that you are part of a moment long foreseen. The joining of two different species as equals was the ultimate hope we, the precursors, held for the younger races." The hologram shifted, revealing streams of data and images that flowed out in all directions. "As a gift to mark this occasion, we bestow upon you the complete unlocking of our knowledge base. May it serve all sentient species in the galaxy and guide you towards a future of unity and enlightenment." As the hologram faded, leaving behind a stunned silence, Walter and Xenos turned to face the crowd. Their hands remained clasped, a living symbol of the union not just between two individuals, but between species, cultures, and the promise of a brighter future. The ceremony concluded, but it was clear to all present that this was not an ending, but a beginning. As the newly bonded pair looked out over the bustling spaceport that had grown from their initial outpost, they saw ships from across the galaxy coming and going, a testament to the thriving interstellar community they had helped create. Walter squeezed Xenos' hand, feeling the familiar texture of her exoskeleton against his skin. "Ready for our next adventure?" he asked, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Xenos' antennae quivered with excitement. "Always," she replied, her multifaceted eyes reflecting the starlight. "As long as we face it together." As they stood there, surrounded by friends and colleagues from multiple species, Walter and Xenos knew that their journey was not nearly finished. The galaxy stretched out before them, vast and full of possibilities. With the precursor knowledge now available to all, and the bonds between species stronger than ever, the future held the promise of discoveries and connections yet unimagined. Their love story, which had begun with a battle and blossomed despite the challenges, was now etched into the annals of galactic history. But for Walter and Xenos, it was simply the foundation for all that was yet to come. A testament to the power of understanding, cooperation, and the unifying force of love across the cosmic expanse.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.